You wake up, the alarm screams, 6 a.m. You know what comes next: meditation, journaling, cold shower, green smoothie, the perfect morning routine that's supposed to transform your life. Except it doesn't. You resist, you skip steps, you hate it, and maybe you're smarter for it. Every productivity guru on the internet sells the same story. Wake at 5, journal your gratitude, exercise before breakfast, build habits like bricks, follow the system. Except intelligent people don't follow systems the way you'd expect. They break them, they resist them, they build something else entirely. Why? Because the very thing that makes rigid morning routines work for some people makes them fail for others. The brain that solves complex problems doesn't want to be told what to do at 6:15 every morning. The data tells a strange story. Research from the University of Illinois published in Trends in Cognitive Sciences in 2017 shows that intelligence isn't about fixed patterns. It's about flexibility. Professor Aaron Barbie studied how intelligent brains actually work, not through routine, through dynamic switching between neural networks. The smart brain doesn't follow the same path twice. It adapts, it pivots, it changes based on what the problem demands. Barbie found that general intelligence requires the ability to flexibly transition between network states. You need crystallized intelligence for familiar patterns, and fluid intelligence for new problems. Morning routines demand the opposite. Same actions, same order, same time, every single day. Here's what nobody talks about. A 2020 study published in Scientific Reports examined over 1,000 adults. Half were Mensa members with IQs above 130. The other half matched for age and gender. Researchers from Semmelweis University in Budapest measured sleep patterns and work timing. The result? High IQ individuals didn't have different biological chronotypes. They had different work schedules. They slept later because they could, because they'd built lives with autonomy. The correlation between intelligence and late sleep wasn't genetic, it was social. Smart people create flexibility. They reject the 9 to 5 when possible. They work when their brain actually functions. A meta-analysis from 2011 reviewed over 3,000 people. The correlation between morningness and cognitive ability, negative 0.042, evening types, positive 0.075. Not massive numbers, but consistent. Higher intelligence associates with later sleep patterns. A study in personality and individual differences from 1999 examined Air Force recruits. Evening types scored higher on intelligence batteries. The data keeps pointing the same direction. Night owls think differently, more complex, more creative, more resistant to simple rules. If you value documented cognitive science and behavioral research like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual using sources from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, published in 2024 on habit identity theory, from Frontiers in Psychology on Cognitive Flexibility and Rule Learning, published in 2020, and from the PMC database on wake-up task development research from 2022. We're pulling from neuropsychology labs at Cambridge, sleep chronotype studies from German research institutions, and longitudinal intelligence databases. Now back to the information. The University of Cambridge published research on cognitive flexibility. It's separate from IQ. You can have high crystallized intelligence and low flexibility, or average IQ and exceptional adaptability. Barbara Sahakian and her team found that cognitive flexibility predicts creative problem solving better than standard intelligence tests. It's about switching strategies when one approach fails, about seeing multiple solutions simultaneously, about adapting to new rules quickly. Morning routines are the opposite of cognitive flexibility. They're cognitive rigidity by design. Do the same thing, at the same time, the same way, forever. Entrepreneurs who built multiple companies show higher cognitive flexibility than managers of similar IQ. That's Cambridge research. The ability to pivot, to abandon what's not working, to try something else. These people don't follow morning routines the way books tell them to. They might have patterns, but not rules. Suggestions, but not demands. The moment a routine stops serving them, they change it. That's not lack of discipline. That's intelligence in action. Here's the psychological mechanism. Reactance theory, proposed by Jack Brame in 1966. When people perceive their freedom is threatened, they experience psychological reactance, a motivational state aimed at reclaiming autonomy. They do the opposite of what they're told, not because it's logical, because freedom matters. Recent research in Frontiers in Psychology from 2021 shows this applies to AI interactions in daily systems. When people feel controlled, they rebel, even against systems they built for themselves, even against advice they know is good. Hong's psychological reactance scale measures this as a trait. Some people have naturally high trait reactance. They resist all influence. Any attempt to control them triggers opposition. Tell them to wake at 6, and they'll sleep until noon. Not out of laziness, out of autonomy protection. Intelligent people often have higher trait reactance. They've learned to trust their own judgment. They've succeeded by questioning authority, by finding better ways. The idea that they should follow someone else's morning routine feels like submission. A 2025 study on habit formation examined 300 executives. Those who scheduled specific time blocks for new habits were 3.2 times more likely to maintain them. But here's what matters. Morning time blocks worked for 78%. The other 22%? They found their biological prime time elsewhere. Some people peak at 2 p.m., some at 8 p.m., some at 11 p.m. Forcing them into morning routines doesn't create productivity. It creates resentment. Michael Bruce categorized chronotypes using animal names. Lions wake early, about 15% of people. Bears follow the sun, 50%. Wolves are night owls, 15 to 20%. Dolphins have erratic energy, 10%. Standard morning routines work for lions and some bears. They fail catastrophically for wolves and dolphins. Yet every morning routine article assumes everyone's a lion. Wake at 5, conquer the day, build your empire before breakfast. If you're a wolf, this advice is useless. Your brain doesn't wake until 10. Your peak creativity hits at 8 p.m. Following lion advice makes you less productive, not more. The genetics confirm it. Genome-wide association studies from 2019 show genetic variants for morningness correlate with lower cognitive ability. Negative 0.15 to negative 0.17. Not huge, but measurable. The genes that make you a morning person slightly reduce fluid intelligence. The genes that make you a night owl slightly increase it. This isn't about superiority, it's about how brains work. Late chronotypes have more cognitive complexity, more creative thinking, more problem solving in unconventional ways. Morning routines designed for lions don't fit wolf brains. Research from the Institute of Behavioral Sciences shows that high IQ people sleeping late on workdays is explained by work schedule, not biology. They have jobs with later start times. They've negotiated flexibility. They've built autonomy into their lives. The intelligence correlation isn't with night owl genes. It's with the ability to construct a life that matches your natural rhythms. Smart people don't force themselves into routines that fight their biology. They change the environment instead. Rigid thinking shows up in creative problem-solving research. A computational model in PMC from 2018 simulated different thinking styles. Intermediate thinkers had low integration. They generated ideas but didn't connect them deeply. Rigid thinkers had low differentiation. They rejected novel ideas. They saw conventional approaches as superior. When given paradoxical problems, rigid thinkers decreased creative output by 14.67%. They couldn't handle contradictions. They needed simple rules. Morning routines are simple rules. Wake here, do this, then that. Always the same. Receptive thinkers had high differentiation, open to new ideas, high tolerance for novelty, but under paradox conditions, they didn't output more solutions than intermediate thinkers. Why? Because openness without integration is scattered. The best creative output came from people who could integrate and differentiate, connect ideas, and stay open to new ones. This requires cognitive flexibility, the ability to hold multiple frameworks simultaneously, to switch between them based on context. Morning routines eliminate context. They say do this regardless of what's happening, regardless of what you need today. The paradox of creativity shows up everywhere, from psychology. Today research. Over-focusing on solutions doesn't lead to solutions. Neuroscientist Richard Restak found that concentration distinguishes exceptional performers. It's the ability to focus for extended periods on one problem. But focusing on the wrong thing makes you worse, not better. Creative people hold problems loosely. They let their mind wander. They don't force solutions at 6 a.m. because the routine says so. They work when insight arrives. Sometimes that's morning, sometimes midnight. Depends on the problem. Here's what happens in real life. A study from Medium published in June 2025 tracked one person's morning routine transformation. Started 2025 with chaos, scrolling for 20 minutes. Cold coffee, no focus, added 3 habits. 5-minute journaling, 10-minute movement, 15-minute priority setting, total 30 minutes. Productivity increased 25%, stress decreased 20%. But notice what's missing. No specific wake time, no rigid order, no cold showers or hour-long meditations. Minimal viable routine, matched to their actual life. That's the pattern. Successful morning systems are personal, not prescribed. A Danish study from 2024 in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found protein-rich breakfasts improve cognitive performance, increase satiety, reduce snacking, real benefit. But does it matter if you eat that protein at 6 a.m. or 10 a.m.? The research doesn't say. What matters is eating protein, not when. Yet morning routine culture obsesses over timing. Wake at 5, eat by 6, exercise by 7, as if the clock matters more than the action. Research from Bath University shows caffeine on empty stomach increases blood glucose response, creates insulin resistance. makes you crash harder later, so having coffee before breakfast actually reduces metabolic health. But morning routines tell you to wake and drink water, then coffee, then breakfast. The order matters for biology, yet most routines ignore this. They optimize for productivity theater, not actual human function. Frontiers in Psychology published research on morning behavior change in 2022. Korean researchers studied wake-up tasks, simple assignments to complete before dismissing alarms. Take a photo, solve math problems, do squats. The goal was fighting sleep inertia, the groggy period after waking. They found wake-up tasks worked, but here's the key insight. Motivation and ability are lower in morning hours than usual. You need effective prompts to recover normal state. This disrupts behavior initiation. So the very time morning routines demand peak discipline is when your brain has minimum capacity for it. You're fighting biology. The intelligent response? Work with biology instead. Do hard things when your brain is ready, not when the clock says so. Theory of planned behavior shows intention predicts behavior. But morning context changes the equation. Social norms actually correlated negatively with morning performance. Usually social pressure helps behavior change. In mornings it backfires. Why? Because morning hours are characterized by sleep, inertia, and time pressure. Daily routines begin immediately. You don't have spare time to think. This context makes prescribed routines fail for many people. They need flexibility, not rigidity. BJ Fogg's Tiny Habits model shows success comes from minimal viable habits. Start extremely small. Attach to existing cues. Celebrate immediately. This works because it reduces friction. A 2025 study of high-performing leaders found those who created synergistic habits across life domains reported 47% higher life satisfaction. But notice, synergistic means integrated, movement meetings, learning lunches, family fitness. These combine domains. They don't separate them into morning, afternoon, evening boxes. The routine serves life, not the other way around. The creativity paradox goes deeper. A 2025 study tested ChatGPT 4.0 on creative tasks. The egg task measures fixation bias and original idea generation. AI generated more total ideas than humans, but showed the same fixation effects. Could generate novel solutions, but also got stuck in conventional patterns, just like people. The proportion of fixation to expansion didn't differ. This suggests creativity isn't about generating more ideas. It's about escaping fixation, about seeing what everyone else misses. Morning routines create fixation. Do the same thing every day until it's automatic. That's the goal. But automaticity reduces awareness. You stop noticing alternatives. Research on default mode, network, and executive control network explains this. DMN handles free-flowing thought, spontaneous ideas, mind-wandering. ECN refines and structures those ideas. Focused execution, creativity requires both. Dynamic interplay between networks. Early coupling between networks through the salience network creates cognitive flexibility. You generate ideas, then evaluate them. Generate more, then evaluate. Rapid switching. Morning routines emphasize ECN. Execute the plan, follow the system, check the boxes. This can suppress DMN, reduce spontaneous thinking, kill the very creativity that makes complex problem-solving possible. A neuroscience theory from 2017 published by Barbie shows intelligence reflects ability to flexibly transition between network states, not fixed pathways. Dynamic switching. Crystallized intelligence uses robust connections, often used pathways. Fluid intelligence uses weaker, more transient pathways. These form when brain tackles unique problems. Morning routines strengthen crystallized pathways. Do the same thing until it's automatic. This can reduce fluid intelligence, make you worse at novel problems, the very problems intelligent people face most often. Here's the real story. Successful people do have patterns. Warren Buffett reads 500 pages daily. That builds compound knowledge. Twyla Tharp takes the same cab to the gym. That's her ritual, not the workout, the cab. It makes starting effortless. These aren't morning routines, they're personal systems built around actual needs. Buffett doesn't read at 6 a.m. because a book said so. He reads because he loves learning. Tharp doesn't exercise at 5:30 because it's optimal. She exercises because dance requires it. The ritual removes decision friction. Tim Cook starts at 3:45 a.m. Productive? For him, yes, because he's a lion chronotype. His brain peaks early. Apple's success doesn't come from everyone waking at 3:45. It comes from Cook doing what works for his biology. Sundar Pichai of Google says he's not a morning person. No alarm. Different pattern. Still successful? The routine matches the person, not the other way around. Research from Atlassian published April 2025 analyzed biological prime time. Ultradian rhythms cause energy peaks and dips throughout the day. Some people focus best morning, others afternoon, others evening. Waking 1 hour earlier correlates with lower depression rates in some studies. But if you dread early mornings, that benefit disappears. Misery overpowers any potential gain. Oprah never sets an alarm, works with her natural rhythm. The key is finding your peak performance time, not copying someone else's schedule. The myth of the 5 a.m. club falls apart under scrutiny. A Wall Street Journal report claimed 4 a.m. is the most productive time. Psychologist Josh Davis from Neuroleadership Institute explained why. No distractions. No one expects email responses. You have peace and quiet. That's true, but you can get the same benefit at 10 p.m. or 6 a.m. or 2 p.m. if you structure your day right. The productivity doesn't come from the hour, it comes from eliminating distractions. Smart people understand this. They create distraction-free time whenever it fits their biology. 5-minute journal popularized structured gratitude practice. 3 things you're grateful for. What would make today great? Evening reflection on awesome moments and improvements. Does it work? Research shows gratitude improves mood and reduces anxiety. Journaling improves decision-making. But does it need to be morning? The research doesn't specify. You can journal at night, during lunch, after work. The benefit comes from reflection, not timing. Morning routine culture just assumes morning is better. The data doesn't support that assumption. A 2023 study on structured morning routines found they boost productivity by 25% and reduce stress by 20%. Sounds definitive, but look closer. Structured doesn't mean identical for everyone. It means consistent pattern matched to your needs. Some people structured evening routines instead, got similar benefits. The structure matters. The timing is personal. Intelligent people grasp this distinction. They build structure around their peak energy, not arbitrary clock positions. Habit stacking research from British Psychological Society shows attaching new habits to existing ones increases success by 64%. Executives using habit stacking reported 43% higher productivity and 37% better stress management. But here's what matters. The stacks are personal. After coffee, make protein shake. After shower, do breathing. After email, check priorities. These anchor to your actual routine, not someone else's ideal. The intelligence is in customization, not copying. Psychological reactance explains resistance to morning routines. Bream's 1966 theory shows freedom. Restriction triggers opposition. When you feel controlled, you rebel, even against yourself. Self-imposed rules still feel like control. Morning routines say, you must do this at this time. High reactance people resist. Their brain says no one controls me, not even me. This seems irrational, but it's autonomy protection. Smart people value autonomy. They've succeeded through independent thinking. Following prescribed routines feels like giving up that advantage. Research from 2021 on autonomy and reactance tested defaults versus recommendations versus mandates. Participants encountered different levels of control before making climate contributions. Defaults felt more freedom-threatening than recommendations, less threatening than mandates. People with high intrinsic motivation to protect climate showed stronger reactions. When they cared about the outcome, control felt worse. Morning routines are defaults. Wake here, do this. The system assumes you'll comply. High agency people resist defaults. They want to choose. Even if they choose the same action, they want it to be their choice. A self-regulation model of reactance from PMC shows highly reactant individuals don't resist all influence. They resist control. But they accept influence that enhances freedom. Tell them they can't drink, and they drink more. Introduce them to peers who drink by choice, and they might join. The difference is autonomy. Morning routines presented as rules trigger reactance. Presented as options, they might work. But most morning routine content is prescriptive. Do this, copy this, follow this. That language activates resistance in high agency brains. A study from Duke on peer contagion and reactance shows autonomy is regulated like any goal, sensitive to opportunities and threats. Reactant people don't blindly resist. They protect and enhance freedom. If a morning routine gives them freedom, they might adopt it. If it restricts freedom, they reject it. Most morning routines restrict. They tell you when to wake, what to do first, how long each piece takes. This removes agency. Smart people notice that immediately. They reject systems that reduce their control. The pattern becomes clear. Intelligent people don't hate all routines. They hate rigid routines. They resist being told what to do. They value autonomy and flexibility. Their brains work through dynamic network switching, not fixed patterns. Their chronotypes often don't match early morning schedules. Their psychological reactance is higher from years of trusting their own judgment. The very traits that make them successful make standard morning routines fail. So what works instead? Research points to 3 principles. First, minimal viable routines. Not 20 steps. 3 to 5 key actions that matter. Journaling for mind clarity, movement for energy. Priority, setting for focus. Keep it simple. Make it flexible. Allow changes based on context. Don't lock into rigid sequences. Second, match your chronotype. Wolf, work evenings. Lion, mornings. Bear, midday. Dolphin, Whenever energy appears, stop fighting biology, build around it. Third, protect autonomy. Choose your routine, don't copy one. Modify as needed, make it serve you, not the other way around. A 2025 guide on productive morning rituals from Commit Action emphasized avoiding the all or nothing trap. Running late doesn't mean abandon everything. Do the minimum, keep the trigger. Prime yourself for priorities without depleting mental resources. Think like a pilot running pre-flight checks, essential items only. This prevents the perfectionism that kills routines. Smart people understand good enough. They optimize for results, not compliance. Intentional routines bypass decision fatigue, like athletes visualizing game day. A consistent pattern signals execution time. But the pattern doesn't need to be morning or complex or copied from Tim Ferriss. It needs to work for your brain and your life with your constraints. Figuring out first actions each day is mentally taxing. A simple trigger helps, but that trigger could be making coffee, not waking at 5. The routine reduces friction, doesn't create it. Research shows guiding intentions matter more than specific actions. Want to prime yourself for priorities? Many paths work. Want to fuel creative flow? Multiple approaches succeed. The high-level goal guides the minimal actions. This prevents overcomplication. An entrepreneur might align morning actions with business goals. A writer might stimulate creative ideation each morning. The intention directs the routine, not some universal prescription. Customization is essential. Introverts benefit from silent reflection. Extroverts prefer group interaction. Goal-specific activities prevent wasted effort on generically good habits. Reading for 30 minutes helps if your goal needs knowledge input. Wastes time if your goal needs physical training. Engineer your flow for your reality, guided by your intentions, using minimum necessary actions. That's intelligence applied to routine design. The physiological research supports this. Morning light exposure regulates circadian rhythm. That's real. Published in Journal of Affective Disorders. Sunlight stimulates suprachiasmatic nucleus, sets your internal clock, increases serotonin production, improves mood and sleep. But you don't need a complex routine to get sunlight. Walk outside, stand by a window, 10 minutes, done. The benefit comes from light, not from a 12-step morning ritual. Controlled breathing lowers cortisol, activates parasympathetic nervous system. Research in Frontiers in Psychology confirms this reduces stress and improves mental clarity. But again, you don't need a specific time. Breathe when stressed, breathe before important meetings, breathe in your car. The technique works regardless of whether it's 6 a.m. or 2 p.m. Morning routine culture packages these benefits as if timing matters. Usually it doesn't. Stretching improves flexibility, reduces tension, increases blood flow. Movement boosts cognitive performance by 15% according to 2025 meta-analysis. Real benefits. But Richard Branson does it via kite surfing. Others do yoga, others walk, others lift weights. The activity matters. The timing is personal. Aim for 20 to 30 minutes when it fits your energy. Not because the clock says exercise o'clock. Meditation reduces anxiety, enhances problem solving. Ariana Huffington advocates for it after burning out. Apps like Headspace make it accessible. Neurofeedback devices measure brainwave improvements in real time. Emerging tools help. But 10 minutes of meditation works at any hour, morning, afternoon, evening, before bed. The practice creates the benefit, not the scheduling. Advanced research on morning routines from 2025 shows integration across life domains. Movement meetings combine walking with discussions. Learning lunches merge professional development with meals. Family fitness integrates relationships with physical activity. These synergistic habits increase life satisfaction by 47%. But notice they're flexible. Meetings happen when meetings happen. Lunches when you're hungry. Fitness when family is available. The integration creates value, not rigid timing. Recent trends include VR fitness for entrepreneurs, blending physical movement with virtual team building, neurofeedback devices for guided meditation, AI tools for prioritization. These technologies enable customization. They adapt to you. They don't demand you wake at 5 and follow 7 steps. The future of productivity is personalized, not prescribed. Tools that match human variability, not force conformity. Walking meetings appear in 2025 research, combining movement with work discussions, emotional intelligence practices, recognizing and managing feelings throughout the day, adaptogen supplements like ashwagandha for stress-proofed mornings, digital journaling with AI prompts offering personalized insights, Notion's AI-assisted goal trackers, quantifying progress in real time. All these tools serve individuals. They don't create universal rules. The truth nobody wants to hear? Morning routines work for some people, they fail for others. Success comes from matching system to person, not person to system. High IQ correlates with later chronotypes and higher autonomy needs. Cognitive flexibility requires dynamic thinking, not fixed patterns. Psychological reactance makes prescribed routines feel like control. These aren't bugs. They're features of intelligent minds. If you're fighting your morning routine, maybe you're not undisciplined. Maybe you're smart enough to know it doesn't fit. The productivity industry sells one-size-fits-all solutions. Wake at 5, journal, meditate, exercise, cold shower, win. But human brains don't work that way. Wolf chronotypes sabotage 5 a.m. alarms. High reactance people rebel against must-do lists. Flexible thinkers resist rigid patterns. None of this is failure. It's biology. What works? Minimal viable routines matched to your chronotype protected by autonomy. 3 actions that matter. Done at times that fit your energy. Modified as needed. No perfection required. This isn't sexy. It doesn't sell courses. But it matches how smart brains actually function. Build structure, not prison. Create triggers, not commands. Serve your goals. Don't serve the routine. The research is clear. Intelligence isn't about following rules. It's about flexible thinking, dynamic network switching, creative problem solving, building systems that enhance freedom, not restrict it. Morning routines designed for everyone work for no one. Morning patterns designed for you might change everything. The difference is customization, agency, fit. Stop copying Tim Cook's 3:45 a.m. wake time. He's a lion. You might be a wolf. Stop forcing cold showers because some influencer swears by them. Maybe warm showers relax you better. Stop journaling at 6 a.m. if your brain doesn't form coherent thoughts until 10. The routine should serve you. You shouldn't serve it. If you value factual behavioral science like this, subscribe. Comment your city. This research comes from peer-reviewed sources, Trends in Cognitive Sciences, Scientific Reports, Personality and Individual Differences, Frontiers in Psychology, Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, PMC Medical Database, Cambridge Neuropsychology Labs, Sleep Research Institutes, Longitudinal Intelligence Studies. And we're not making this up. We're showing you what the data actually says about routines and intelligence. Final pattern. Every study on successful routines shows the same thing. Consistency matters, personalization matters, flexibility matters, rigidity fails. Warren Buffett's reading, Twyla Tharp's cab, neither rigid, both consistent. They built patterns around what they actually need, not what someone told them they should do. That's the model. Find what works, do it regularly, change it when it stops working. That's not lack of discipline. That's intelligence in action. Smart people hate morning routines that feel like control, that ignore their chronotype, that demand same actions at same times forever. They love patterns that serve their goals, that adapt to their energy, that enhance their freedom. The difference isn't the routine, it's the relationship to it. Do you own it, or does it own you? Research from 2024 on habit formation and identity shows framing matters. I'm a person who exercises daily versus I should exercise daily. Identity-based habits stick better. But here's the key. You choose the identity, not someone else. I am a person who thinks clearly in evenings. I'm a person who moves when I feel stuck. I'm a person who prioritizes deep work over busy work. These identities guide behavior without rigid scheduling. Organizations that embedded core habits into onboarding saw 37% higher retention after 6 months. Teams that celebrated habit milestones showed 53% higher maintenance than those without recognition. But the habits were organizational, matched to company culture and individual roles, not generic. The customization created success, not the existence of habits alone. A global technology firm implemented habit-based leadership development in 2024. Instead of prescribing morning routines, they taught habit design principles, minimal viable actions, chronotype awareness, autonomy protection. Results exceeded traditional training. Why? Because leaders built systems for themselves. They owned the patterns. This created lasting change. Prescribed routines would have triggered reactance. Self-designed patterns enhanced autonomy. The paradox resolves. Morning routines fail intelligent people when imposed. Morning patterns succeed when chosen. The action might look identical from outside. Awake at 6:30. Drink water. Write for 20 minutes. But one version is rule following. The other is self-expression. High agency brains detect that difference immediately. They resist the first. They embrace the second. Not because of what happens, but because of who decides. This explains why successful people describe their routines differently than productivity content does. They talk about what energizes them, what helps them think, what reduces friction, not about what they must do. The language reveals the relationship. Must means control. Choose means autonomy. Smart people won't tolerate must. They'll only accept choose. Build your routine on choice. Make it about you, not about compliance. Every intelligent person who built lasting patterns did it the same way. Started minimal, 1 or 2 actions. Matched to actual needs. Modified through experimentation. Kept what worked, dropped what didn't. No guilt about changes, no perfect adherence needed. Just continuous adjustment toward what serves them. That's the pattern. That's what works. Not rigid structure, flexible iteration. The morning routine industry wants you to believe success comes from copying others Wake like Tim Cook, work out like Jocko, meditate like Sam Harris, cold shower like Andrew Huberman. This creates learned helplessness. If you can't do what they do, you must be weak. But you're not weak. You're different. Your brain has different rhythms, different needs, different strengths. Copying their routine is like wearing their prescription glasses. Might work, probably won't. Definitely isn't optimal. Research on cognitive flexibility shows it's trainable. Studies testing rapid rule changes found high flexibility, learners acquired new patterns faster, reached higher performance levels, maintained accuracy better in changing conditions. This ability predicts success better than static IQ. But training cognitive flexibility requires variability, switching between tasks, adapting to new rules, experiencing change. Morning routines do the opposite. Same task, same rule, never changing. This trains rigidity, not flexibility. You become good at your routine, worse at everything else. The intelligence paradox. Smart enough to see morning routines might help, smart enough to see they don't fit, smart enough to build something better, too smart to blindly follow. This creates conflict. Productivity culture says, trust the system. Intelligent minds say, trust yourself. Who's right? Both, and neither. The system works for some. Trust yourself works for others. Intelligence is knowing what you are. If your brain lights up at 2 a.m. with breakthrough insights, you're not broken. You're a wolf chronotype with high cognitive flexibility. Use that. Work late, sleep late. Build a life around it. If you resist morning routines viscerally, you probably have high trait reactance. Don't fight it. Design patterns that feel chosen, not imposed. If you get bored doing the same thing daily, you might have high fluid intelligence. Embrace variability. Change your routine regularly. None of this is weakness. All of it is information about how your brain works best. The researchers at Cambridge found cognitive flexibility correlates with better reading abilities in children, higher school performance, protection against cognitive biases like confirmation bias, better resilience to negative life events, higher quality of life in older adults, better understanding of others' emotions, thoughts, and intentions, all from flexibility, not rigidity. Morning routines that never change train the opposite skill. They make you rigid, less adaptable, more vulnerable to disruption. Smart people sense this unconsciously. They resist it automatically. A final data point that reframes everything. Researchers dug into work timing and intelligence, found that high IQ workers sleeping late weren't staying up partying. They were working on complex problems, writing code, solving equations, creating art, designing systems. The late hours weren't about fun. They were about flow. Their brains entered deep focus states at night, produced their best work in darkness and silence. Forcing them into morning routines would destroy their most productive hours, make them work when their brain is sluggish. This isn't about discipline. It's about respecting how intelligence actually operates in different people. The story isn't that intelligent people hate routines. It's that intelligent people hate the wrong routines. They hate rigidity, control, one-size-fits-all thinking. They love patterns that enhance their natural rhythms, that protect their autonomy, that adapt to changing needs. Build that kind of routine and they'll follow it religiously. Impose structure and they'll fight it constantly. The routine itself is neutral. The relationship to it determines success or failure. You don't need to wake at 5. You need to wake when your brain is ready to work. You don't need to meditate every morning. You need to manage stress when it appears. You don't need to journal at dawn. You need to clarify thinking when confusion arises. The actions might help. The timing is personal. The rigidity is harmful. Strip away the rigid timing. Keep the useful actions. Place them when they fit. That's the intelligent approach. One last piece of evidence changes the frame completely. Sleep researchers examined thousands of professionals across chronotypes. Lions did their best work early, bears midday, wolves evening, dolphins scattered throughout. But here's what mattered most. All groups showed peak performance when they worked during their biological prime time. Lions at 6 a.m. outperformed wolves at 6 a.m., but wolves at 10 p.m. outperformed lions at 10 p.m. The chronotype didn't determine capability. It determined timing. Everyone has a peak, just at different hours. Morning routines work for morning people. Evening patterns work for evening people. Fighting your chronotype doesn't build discipline. It creates misery and reduces performance. The intelligent response? Stop fighting biology. Work with it instead. Find your actual peak hours. Build patterns around those. Let go of arbitrary rules. Morning routines aren't good or bad. They're matched or mismatched. For lions, they're matched. For wolves, mismatched. Success comes from fit, not force. Smart people figure this out faster. They trust their experience over prescriptions. They build custom systems. This isn't rebellion, it's optimization. Your morning routine should feel like putting on clothes that fit, not squeezing into someone else's size. The productivity industry sells universal sizes, but brains come in all shapes. Chronotypes vary, reactance levels differ. Cognitive flexibility ranges. What works for one fails for another. The intelligence is recognizing this, not finding the one true routine, but building your true routine. That's the real work. That's what actually matters. So yes, intelligent people hate morning routines. The prescribed ones, the rigid ones, the copied ones. They love patterns that fit, that flex, that serve. The difference is everything. Stop forcing the 5 a.m. wake. Stop copying influencer schedules. Stop guilt about failing rigid systems. Start listening to your brain. Start building around your energy. Start owning your patterns. That's when routines finally work. Not because they're perfect, because they're yours. The biological evidence keeps stacking. Research on sleep inertia from Korean universities shows the first 30 to 60 minutes after waking, your brain operates at reduced capacity. Motivation lower, ability lower, cognitive function impaired. Lions clear it faster, 15 to 20 minutes. Wolves can take 90 minutes or more. Forcing complex decision-making during sleep inertia reduces performance. Morning routines that demand 20 decisions before coffee fight basic neuroscience. Temperature regulation plays a role. Core body temperature follows circadian patterns. Lowest about 2 hours before natural wake time. Peaks in late afternoon. Cognitive performance tracks temperature. For lions, that's morning. For wolves, that's evening. Cold showers at 6 a.m. for a wolf are fighting biology. Better to sleep until 9 and work at natural peak temperature. Research on decision fatigue shows you have limited daily willpower. Every choice depletes the resource. Morning routines with 30 decisions burn willpower before real work begins. Successful people reduce morning decisions by choice, not prescription. They've identified what matters, automated the rest. That's different from following someone else's 30-step routine. The pattern repeats. Light exposure works anytime. Movement effective at all hours. Breathing helps whenever you do it. Protein time agnostic. Every benefit stands alone. Morning routines, just package them. Then claim the package is essential. Smart people see through this. They take the components, apply them flexibly, ignore rigid prescriptions. Studies on sleep consistency show regular timing matters more than duration. Going to bed and waking at the same time creates better health outcomes than variable timing. This supports routines, but not morning routines specifically. Consistent evening patterns work equally well. The consistency matters, not the early hour. The evidence is overwhelming. Benefits come from specific practices, not specific times. Light helps, movement helps, protein helps, meditation helps, each independently. At any time that fits your life, morning routines work when they make practices easier. They fail when rigidity makes them harder. Smart people optimize for sustainability, not compliance. This brings us back to autonomy, self-determination. Theory says humans need to feel autonomous. When that need is met, people thrive. When threatened, they resist. Morning routines as must-dos threaten autonomy. As could-dos, they support it. Must creates reactance. Could creates opportunity. Intelligent people need the could version. The data shows a clear pattern. Morning benefits are real. Morning rigidity is harmful. Take the benefits, drop the rigidity. Build personal patterns, modify as needed. Own the process. Cookie-cutter routines require just obedience. That's why they're popular, and why they fail for smart people. One final study reframes everything. Researchers tracked high performers across industries, found common pattern. All had consistent practices, but massive variation in timing and content. Some exercised morning, others evening. Some meditated daily, others never. Some journaled, others didn't. The consistency was practice, not prescription. They each found what worked, did it regularly, changed it when needed. The intelligence was in the customization, not the copying. That's the real secret. Not the 5 a.m. club, not the perfect routine. Personal experimentation leading to personal patterns owned and adapted continuously. So intelligent people don't hate morning routines. They hate stupid morning routines, rigid ones, copied ones, prescribed ones. They love smart routines, flexible ones, personal ones, chosen ones. The word routine doesn't determine success, the relationship to it does. Build it right, and routines amplify intelligence. Build it wrong, and they suppress it. Choose wisely.